Cindy from Boise Creative Living. Time for another quick garden tour. So I have some things in progress here, but I'll show you some of the garden here in a minute. Before things, it's kind of coming along. Some things I've pulled out already. But let's start here with some of the goji berries. I'll show you them. They have done fabulous here. And they will spread, so it's just a really nice having some green here. And it's included in a bit of terracing, which I need to keep adding to. I might do another level. But it looks, I don't see any buds yet, but maybe getting close. The Love Lies Bleeding are doing really well. Those are a type of amaranth. The seeds would be edible. I don't know if I'll go about saving them. And I found some plants on sale at Lowe's for $1 a piece. So I've got those vincas back there. They look like impatiens, but they're not. I think the blooms are sturdier. And my alyssum has done really well in here too. And this area is still struggling. I have a pepper in there. I think that's a cayenne pepper, but being that it's already halfway through August, I might need to shelter that to get it over to be done. I planted a couple rosemary in here, one on each corner. Those were $1 a piece from Lowe's. And there are a couple just tiny baby Russian sage in here too. Got purple ruffles basil growing in that pot. Scarlet runner beans with no beans yet. The birds kind of pick at this, so I don't think any have come through. The hummers are liking it. Larkspur is on a second blooming. I had cut off some seed heads, but I should have pruned them back a little more so it wouldn't have all the dead stuff in there. Hummingbird feeder there. They've been hanging out here. This area of the house drops down, and that little slope there is a little dangerous walking down. So I have steps here that I am in the progress of building. That's been about 4 days I've been working on this. So I can do it myself, but it takes a while, but that's okay. I'm not in a hurry. So I have things that are in with rebar, about 18-inch rebar pounded through like there. There'll be another board going over the top of that one, completing that step, like right there. I'm going to use adhesive on that, along with all the screws that hold it together. And in the corner here, you can see some rebar and screws in there. And over here, those are ready for concrete. I'm just going to mix up small batches in a bucket. It'll give it a little more reinforcement. I've got this in here. It's pretty sturdy, but the concrete will help. That'll give a bit of a railing if you ever need help getting down the steps here, which I might now and then. My sweet potato vine, I just planted sweet potatoes that were sprouting into there. Got a tomato seed was stray in there and started coming up. Some moss rose came up. I reused some potting soil and stuff, and it might have had some failed seeds in my starter pots, and I threw it all together. So I get little surprises now and then. This is for the kitties. I've got catnip growing. I'll be able to take some of that in the house in the winter for them. This is lemongrass I grew from seed. It's looking really good. My chicken, Lily playing. She makes a mess up there. Gonna have to sweep up after her again. basil's kind of leggy. I have to really prune it back more severe. I forget the name of that flower, but it's done really nice. And these were sweet potato vines I bought. Those are doing good, but this plant got bugs, and I've sprayed it with some neem oil, and I'm waiting for the growth to come back around. And now to the garden. If you can see over there, my pumpkins are doing great on that arch. I'll give you a closer look. Look at them, aren't they beautiful? They've gone up and over the arch. I have 5 really good pumpkins there. And these are the Rouge pumpkins. Look at the color. Kind of a flatter shape. That one's growing way up there. Got them tied off. Just using pieces of t-shirt here. Old t-shirts. And I think they're going to be fine. I might need to add some like nylons around them to support them, so they don't fall and crack. I might have little potato cucumbers. Isn't that amazing? It starts out as a spiky little thing, and then it just kind of cracks and looks like a potato. I've picked a few already, but they're loaded with blooms. This cucumber plant here doesn't show any signs of blossoms yet, but that's called a jelly melon, and they get spiky, weird looking fruit on them if they ever bloom. And I do have a little watermelon. I think these are just a small size melon. They make a pretty vine. Scarlet runner beans versus Kentucky Wonder. Those Scarlet Runner have pretty flowers, but the beans look the same when they're ripe. But the Kentucky Wonder has really grown well. It probably would provide better shade if I had those on the other side. It would have been better shade for Fred. Fred's over in the corner there. There. Hi, Fred. Winter squash. One, two. There's a third. There's a fourth. Now these went in kind of late. It's amazing how much growth there is. It's totally covered the trellis out. There's a number 5 down there. So I think I have 5 pumpkins and 5 winter squash. And my blackberries are doing quite well in here. There's a blossom hiding back there. And I do have a few berries getting red. I mean, literally a few. There's like 4. But that plant's only a year old, so it's doing well. I love how things have filled up here. I have some melons growing on the fence. Those were a little late, but they might be all right. Tomatoes, I had a few failures. This is one I bought, just a cherry tomato. Not any on it yet. I have a ton of dill. I've had 2 waves of caterpillars on the dill for butterflies. And you can see I still have plenty of dill to spare. artichokes in 1 year from seeds. I started the seeds in the early spring. I think next year you'll see more artichokes because they're doing so well. A couple regular cucumbers, straight 8 pickling cucumbers coming up. I might squeak out a few before frost. That tomato's doing nicely. There's a couple on the other side that are doing even better. Bee balm's at the end of its life. It's still putting out a few flowers. And the hollyhock too. Fred likes to eat hollyhock flowers, otherwise I might trim these back, but it's one of his favorite treats. My leeks that I'm growing from seed are looking pretty nice there. More dill. And that bed is ready for something for fall. I left one plant at the end that was zucchini. And the squash bugs were getting in there a lot. The plants weren't looking too healthy or producing anymore, so see ya. Radishes are kind of at the end of their life. I don't like radishes that much, but once in a while I do like to saute them, or maybe a little bit in the salad. So those will be changing over to something for fall here. Kale is still producing, but it got a little buggy in here. I've already fought aphids off of these. I pulled out my carrots back here. There's still a few I'll leave in there to let it get a little bigger. But I think the kale is almost done for. Tired of fighting the bugs. I gotta leave enough for Fred. He likes the kale too. This nasturtium's kind of hanging out here. I like that. I'll let that be because those are good additions to salads. And I have more of the freckles lettuce come in. I trimmed back some and they started, I just trimmed the tops off and kept that for salad, and it started bunching out like that. But that's another treat for Fred. He eats well. I have thyme down here going crazy along with the alyssum. And there's lots of, if you can see in here, lots of moss rose started itself. I need to dig those out of there because that's going to waste. I see the tomato. Okay, it's not much, but it's pretty. There's some other ones on this one. And I picked a few off my early girl plant. Now the tomato in here, those self-sowed and they don't look real hot. Well, the tomatoes, I did get a few, and they look like the chocolate sprinkles I had last year, but they don't taste like it at all. They're not sweet. I do have cucamelons. They're just little tiny cucumbers. They look like watermelons. And I have picked enough off there to make 1 jar of pickles. All right, thanks for joining me. I'm getting back to work. I'm going to mix up some buckets of concrete and get that all stable over by my steps. So thanks for watching, everybody. Join me again.